About a year ago, our oldest son started a keto diet, and some of the recipes that he brought home and made for us became very big family favorites, and we're making one of those today. Today we're making keto crust Alfredo pizza.
For today's recipe, you're going to need 1 cup of shredded full-fat mozzarella cheese. If you can't find full-fat, low-fat will work. 2 tablespoons of cream cheese, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic salt, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, 1/4 cup of almond flour. Now, if you don't have almond flour, you can take toasted almonds and grind them up in the coffee grinder. That works great. 1 egg. And then for your toppings, we're going to be making Alfredo pizza today, so we're going to use 1/2 cup of Alfredo sauce. Now, marinara works fantastic on this recipe, so whichever kind of pizza you prefer, that's what you need to do. We're also going to need 1 cup of mozzarella cheese for the topping, and then you're going to add your favorite pizza topping. Since we're doing Alfredo today, we're going to be using 1/2 pound of Italian sausage, 1/4 cup of bacon crumbles, and 1/4 of a white onion thinly sliced. And then once it comes out of the oven, we're going to use some fresh basil for garnish. Before we get started on our crust, you want to take your Italian sausage and just ball it up into little tiny meatballs. They don't have to be perfect. And you're going to cook these in a skillet till they're just about done. And you're going to want to take them out and set them aside and allow them to cool so that they'll be ready to use for toppings. And once that's done, we're ready to start on the crust. And for the crust, you need to start with 1 cup of mozzarella, high fat if you can find it. And we're just going to put that into a microwave safe container. Next, you need 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. Just kind of cut it up so that it will melt a little bit when we put it in the microwave. Then we're going to sprinkle in 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning and 1/4 teaspoon of garlic salt. And we're going to put this in the microwave for about a minute and let it melt. So I microwaved our cheese and spices for 1 minute, and it makes it very, very soft and pliable. You just need to give it a really good mix. Now the mozzarella is going to be super duper stringy. That's okay. So next I'm going to add in the 1/4 cup of almond flour. Now if you don't have almond flour, you can actually take toasted almonds, put them in your coffee grinder, grind them up, and it makes wonderful flour. So we're going to add that in. And next, give it a good stir. This is going to be the stuff that really kind of binds all your cheese and ingredients together. And then you want to add 1 egg. Now, I try to pick a small egg where it can make it very, very moist. But again, give it a good stir. We are well mixed, so now let's make a crust.
Now when you turn this out, you want to put it on a piece of parchment paper. This is going to be very gloopy and very sticky, so you want to make sure that you do put it on parchment paper.
Now the trick is to cover it with another sheet of parchment paper. This stuff is really sticky and it's going to cling to whatever touches it, so parchment paper is going to allow it to let go. So cover it with another sheet on top and then use your rolling pin and just roll it out. Now if you don't have a rolling pin, use a glass, something that just has those nice firm edges. Now you're going to roll this out and it's not going to be a perfect circle. This stuff is very soft. So once you roll it out a good bit, go ahead and just use your fingers. You just want to squish the material out so that you have a nice even crust. It doesn't have to be a perfect shape, but you do want to make sure that you do get good coverage in the area that you have spread your cheese dough. The parchment paper will allow you to see if you've got it spread evenly, and also make sure that you don't have any holes and it's even around. So now we're just going to pop it into a 400-degree oven in the middle rack for about 10 minutes. If you like it a little bit crispier, you may want to let it go closer to 13. While our crust is baking, let's get our toppings ready. We're going to start with mozzarella for the top, 1/4 cup of bacon. We have our Italian meatballs, and we're going to use some thin sliced fresh onion. You just want to cut this really thin because it's not going to be cooking super long, and you want it to be flavorful but tender. Usually about 1/4 of a small onion is enough for toppings. And I also have some fresh basil from my garden. This is going to be a garnish at the end. So our crust has been in the oven for about 10 minutes. We're going to go ahead and take it out. And when you pull the top layer of parchment back, it's okay if there are some dark spots. This is cheese after all. But if we take a look under here, this one looks good. We are ready to add our toppings. I do love homemade Alfredo sauce, but today we're going to be using a commercial brand. This is Bertolli, and if you're trying to keep your total carb numbers down, this is a really good choice because it only has 2 total carbs for a 1/4 cup serving, and the flavor is quite wonderful. So we're going to use this today. So our crust is hot from the oven. We're ready to start layering on our toppings, and we're going to start with our sauce. Now today we're using Alfredo sauce, and I'm going to put about 1/2 cup in there. And definitely don't want to touch the pan because it is still very hot from the oven. But just kind of swirl it around. Make sure you get out to the edges. Now if you prefer marinara, use it. This makes fantastic crust no matter what kind of sauce you're going to use, and we often do pepperoni pizza with marinara sauce, but today is an Alfredo day. Next we're going to layer on our toppings, and we're going to start with mozzarella cheese. Never too much cheese, and just sprinkle it around. You want to make sure you get good coverage. But one thing that I like to do is I do like to reserve just a little bit of the mozzarella for the end to kind of help glue everything down. Next, we have our meatballs. Just kind of place them all over. If you like smaller meatballs, just pull the pieces apart. Next, we're going to add our bacon. This is a 1/4 cup. Now this is the store-bought bacon pieces. You can fry your own and cut it up, works just as well. But we're going to sprinkle it all over. Our family likes a lot of meat. And then we have our onions. These are those thin sliced onions that we did earlier. They're thin, they're going to cook nice and develop flavor and be tender in the short time that we're going to be cooking this. So just be liberal and just place them over, make them pretty. Now we're going to add that little bit of mozzarella that we saved, and it's just going to kind of help things stay put. And now we're ready to bake. This is already a beautiful pizza pie. This is going to go back into a 400-degree oven, and we're going to start with 10 minutes. You just really want to judge your time based on how your crust is looking. So let's start with 10 minutes. So it's been 10 minutes, and taking a look at our crust, the edges are golden. Looks like we're good to go. One last step for our pizza is to go ahead and add some fresh basil. Now this adds a pop of flavor and a pop of color. You don't want to put it on while the pizza is in the oven, however, because the basil will actually turn really dark, and sometimes it can develop a little bit of a bitter flavor. So putting it on afterwards as a garnish makes this just a wonderful addition. Our Alfredo pizza is all done. Let's cut it and give it a try. Our Alfredo pizza has a little bit of a heavy topping, but this cheese crust will stand up. And if you like your crust extra crispy, just leave it in the oven a few more minutes. But it's delicious, and this is a totally keto-friendly meal that your entire family will love. Thanks for watching today. If you like these recipes and you want them to continue, be sure to like, share, and comment. Thanks, guys.